Hi, Mitch.
Mr. Krupicka, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good, good to see you. How are things going?
Well, it's going well.
Yeah,
Sure glad to get to a new week from the week prior.
me
Weather-wise,
too.
it's wonderful out there now.
Yes, yeah, me too. I'm there's something about like knowing that it was going to be 50s this week or even 60s that like I just had a new sense of energy yesterday. Like really excited for the week ahead. So there's definitely something to that.
Yeah, just all mindset, isn't it?
It is. It's a mindset thing. It can get hard to power through January, February. In many ways, February could be the worst month of the year to get through.
I hear
But
you.
yeah. Well, thanks for joining. I appreciate you taking the time. What
Certainly.
are you up to these days? Let's just start with that.
Okay. So as far as the Career Scholars Program, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, share whatever's relevant. I guess I'm curious. I know you and I've chatted before about your new kind of deal right now, what you've been working on. So I'm curious to hear what's been new lately with that.
Okay. Well, anyway, I am the director of the Grand Island Career Scholars, which is a 3+1 internship program through Wayne State College. 3 years up at Wayne State as college students studying business, studying infotech, studying elementary ed, communications, industrial tech. And then after 3 years in Wayne State studying those things, they come to Grand Island for a 1 year paid internship in the city of Grand Island with Grand Island employers. And along with that comes part of their scholarship is $10,000 to go to living arrangements in a brand new apartment building that's being built downtown.
Very cool. When did you
So,
start that?
this is my uh, June 30th will be completing my third year. So this is
Gotcha.
the first year, however. This fall, we will place our first small class of 6 students here in Grand Island. And so
Very
right
cool.
now, I'm in the process of helping the students to line up interviews for their internship with Grand Island employers.
Okay. Gotcha. So this is the first cohort to go
This
through
is
this
cohort
program, and this will be their year three coming up,
uh, coming up
or
year 4. Yeah, year
year
4.
four, year four. Okay. Um, Tell me about, so where downtown are they going to live?
Okay. Well, you know where Daily Dose Coffee is, obviously.
Hmm.
We there before. Uh, it's just on the other side of the block to the north. On the bottom, there's Rooted Books in that building, a Rooted Bookstore. And then up in the top, being built are 5 3-bedroom apartments that will house our first class.
Wow. Okay.
Uh,
That's really cool.
Ernie is actually doing owns the building and doing the construction.
Okay. What's so like there's six of them. What kind of internships are they doing? Or like businesses, I guess, that you've been working because you line up the businesses, the internships, like you get those prepared for these students to line up with like the things they're interested in. Is that right?
Right. So we'll start with I guess, the most straightforward. We have 2 students that are in our criminal justice program, which is our newest program in the Career Scholars, and they will be placed with 2 of them. They'll be placed. One of them will be with State of Nebraska Probation District Number 9 right here downtown, and the other one will be placed with Grand Island Police Department. Um, and then at semester, so they're 1 semester at each place. At semester, they will flip flop and do the opposite one. So those are 2. We have let's see, have one information technology students that I'm trying to get placed. Uh, 2 business students and one industrial technology student. So
Okay.
uh, the most furthest advanced as far as placement are the 2 criminal justice, because that was all pretty much prearranged with district probation, district 9 probation, and GIPD. The other ones, I'm in the process of getting interviews set up, and they're doing a lot of the legwork themselves too. So I'm giving them Grand Island business ideas of who might be looking for. For example, one of the students is very interested in marketing. So I have 3 or 4 business contacts here in Grand Island that might be interested in a marketing intern. Go ahead.
This is something you came out of retirement to do this, right?
Well, yeah, I was retired for 2 whole weeks. My wife thought that might have been about 8 days too many. Yeah. Yes, I retired from Northwest High School as a principal after 12 years at Northwest, a total of 23 years as a principal, total. And so I was retired, and then I started this job on July 1 of 2022. Come June 30th, I will be completing my 3rd year in the program. But
Nice.
this is the first class to be coming here. We have a sister program in Norfolk that's already in their 2nd placement class, 2nd cohort in Norfolk. So,
Gotcha. So what about this made you want to come out of retirement and work again, like that short period of time? You went to Wayne State, correct?
no, I was prior to coming to Northwest as principal, I was the middle school principal for Wayne Public Schools.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's right.
5 years of my career as a principal in Wayne, Nebraska. So when I was in Wayne as a principal, I was also an adjunct instructor at Wayne State College for a couple semesters. So I'd always been very fond of Wayne State. And then actually, it was probably through God's will that I got this information. They had hired about 6 months prior a Grand Island Senior High graduate, Miguel Baeza Aguilera, as one of their admissions team right here in Grand Island. So the last, I guess it was February of 2022, Miguel came to just introduce himself, and I told him, well, I introduced him to PJ Smith, but I also said that I was going to be retiring, and that if there was anything with Wayne State here in Grand Island that he thinks I might be qualified for, I certainly would be interested. 2 weeks later, he called me with this opportunity. That's pretty much been my whole career, Mitch, as you might aware, my strong faith and belief that God puts me in the right place at the right time. Have
Right.
led.
Yeah, that's a really cool how that lined up. So let's go a little bit further back. Like, where did you grow up? What got you into education in the first place?
Okay. A long, long time ago, because I graduated from Milligan High School, and now it's part of a consolidated EMF Exeter Milligan Friend. I graduated in 1977 with a class of 12 students. There were 8 boys and 4 girls, so it was a very small class. So from there, I went to UNL to do my undergraduate. I started out in business, but I found after a year in business that probably wasn't the world for me. I was always interested in teaching and coaching, so I got into education at UNL. Graduated in 1981 with my bachelor's, and then my first teaching job was at Greeley, Nebraska, about 50 miles north of Grand Island here, and was there for, I don't know, how much do you want to know of my career? Do you want me to go step by step?
Yeah, I want to hear all of it.
All right, you're in for it. All right, so 4 years in Greeley as a social studies teacher, boys basketball, girls track, assistant football coach. From there, I spent 2 years in Dodge, Nebraska, up in northeast Nebraska. Just 2 years there. I was assistant football, social studies teacher. Started several social studies programs like the psychology and sociology curriculum. And from there, I had an opportunity to move a little bit closer to my hometown of Milligan. So a job opened up at Wilbur, Claytonia, which was about a half an hour from my hometown of Milligan. And it was at a point in my career and a point in my life where I wouldn't mind going to that part of the state again because that's where I grew up, but also because my mom and my dad were only a half an hour away, and that allowed me to spend more time with them and be around them more as they aged and kind of moved on with their life. After that, my last 2 years at Wilbur Claytonia, I was working on my administrative master's. So I was 11 years at Wilbur Claytonia. The last 2 years working on my administrative master's at UNL. And so I got that in, let's see, 19. Hold on just a second. Let me check my diploma. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
$1998 just happened to be hanging on my wall. So sorry
Nice.
about that.
Oh, that's good.
All right. So from 98, and then I took my first administrative job back in Greeley, of all places, because that's my wife's hometown. And we were in the process of adopting my son at the time, who just happened to be in your class, Ben. And so we moved back to Greeley because we wanted him to grow up around his grandmother. And so she was getting older, and so she lived 2 blocks away from us. So that worked out very well as far as babysitting and all those things. And Ben growing up around his grandmother, and my wife getting to spend time with her mom. So from Greeley, after 6 years in Greeley, I went to Wayne Middle School for 5 years. I was up there, and as I said, while I was up there, I was an adjunct instructor for Wayne State. And then from there, the last 12 years of my administrative career was as principal of Northwest High School in Grand Island. And then that's how I got around to here. So
Very cool.
Including this gig with Wayne State, a total of 43 years in education.
Wow. Yeah. And then you said 23 years as a principal?
23 years as a principal.
Dang.
17 as a classroom teacher, which I'm even more proud of, because there's a lot of people don't spend that much time in the classroom anymore before they decide to become a principal. So, or as one of my instructors in my master's class said, before you decided to join the circus, meaning that, you're going to be a principal now, so you can join the circus.
Well, so I had the pleasure of being at Northwest High School while you were principal there. So I'm curious a little bit about your reflection on that time at Northwest High School. What's like the most interesting what's like the most interesting thing that happened during your time there?
Well, if you want me to be honest, I'll say it was the time that you spent as a student of Northwest High School. That's being a little flattering. I know.
Thank you.
I guess overall, just the fact that I wanted to get to that size of school. One thing about Northwest that we really took a lot of pride in, because we had a lot of students that transferred in, or in the state of Nebraska is called option students. And I think a big part of that was when the option students would come in, and back in when I first started, we actually interviewed most of our students that were coming from out of district. Now, as we got more and more option students, that wasn't allowable. We had more of a questionnaire. But one of the things that came, especially from the students that came from smaller communities around Grand Island, they were impressed with the fact that even though we were a fairly large school, graduating classes anywhere of 165 to all the way up to 200 students per class, that it still felt like a smaller school. And I took a lot of pride in that, especially as somebody who grew up in a small school. And so I felt that our size of school offered lots of opportunities, as you know, because you took advantage of so many of those, not just the academic, but the activity side as well. I remember your days in swing choir and for the play and the musical. And so I took a lot of enjoyment in that, because that was the side of it that coming from a really small school, we really didn't have an opportunity. I played in a small band where we had a 7 through 12 band, and we marched. I still remember marching up to Harvest to Harmony as a 7th grader, playing the bass drums, going under the underpass. and just banging the bass drums because that's the echo that you got. So
Wow.
I really enjoyed my time in Northwest. I had the pleasure of graduating both my son and my daughter in my daughter's uh, graduating class, which would have been the same class as your sister, Sydney. Uh, I really enjoyed that. I remember telling my daughter's name is Emily. And I remember telling Emily, because obviously she knew that that was going to be my last graduation. And my part in graduation was always to announce the names of the students as they marched across the stage to get their diploma. And I had kidded her with her, and hopefully she understood that I was kidding her, that wouldn't it be symbolic as she received her diploma, I would take my school keys and toss them in behind her, and then we'd walk off the stage together. Well, she thought I was never planning on doing that. And, she obviously would have been very embarrassed by that. But I thought that had been great symbolism to go out together like.
Yeah, I would have loved to see it because I was there. Obviously, my sister was there. What was that like? Graduating your daughter and knowing that was your last time. I mean, the graduation ceremony is a big deal.
I cried, Mitch. And you know how emotional I get over some things sometimes. Just thinking about it now is kind of bringing tears to my eyes. But it was such a proud moment. And the fact that it was my last class and my last graduating class, and her graduation made it that much more special.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. What was like? So as principal there at Northwest, what were some of like the hard decisions you had to make? Like take me through like that administrative side, the some of the more, I guess, tougher days. If you've got any stories or just takeaways, advice, reflection on that side of things.
Oh my goodness, how much time do you have for this?
Lots of time.
I guess without getting into a lot of things, it's always difficult. Um, it was always difficult to see students that were struggling to find their way, so to speak, whether it was academically or uh, behavioral wise. So that was usually the most difficult thing. But one of the things that I always tried to do when I dealt with, especially the behavioral side, uh, was to realize and to always emphasize that you come at it from a point of compassion towards the students. Because I did think of the students as my students, just as if they were family members of mine. And so even in the most difficult decisions, and there were plenty of them, but we had a bunch of great kids as well. So there's not near as many as some schools and some school principals might have had dealt with. But that was probably the toughest. Of course, there's always issues with dealing with parents who may have complaints about a certain teacher or something like that. Those are difficult as well. But in those situations, oftentimes I just acted as a mediator, because everybody has a chance and needs to have a chance to be heard and wants to have their voice heard. And so I think it was very important that I mediated any dispute that occurred. And there weren't many. We had great teachers, but those were difficult situations to deal with. But the students really, they tug at your hearts, and they certainly tugged at my heart. And so the most rewarding thing, Mitch, and I'll have to tell you that, is and I think I had a reputation, maybe it's my age or something like that, but maybe it was the fact that I had a little too soft a heart for some kids. Not that I let them by on discipline, but I think they always appreciated the fact that when I was finished with them, that they left with some dignity. And, that was important to me as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could definitely speak for myself and say like that. That's definitely how I felt, leaving Northwest High School with you as principal. I mean, it was just an honor to be a student at this school while you were principal. I mean, everything you said is just like the activities, the education, like how that all is such a cohesive thing where you can be so involved in all these different things and excel as a student and have that like the fact that like we would have conversations. There's 800 kids there all hours going there, but you knew me, I knew you, like, and you had that personal connection with so many students. And so definitely, yeah, that was definitely a strength of the school, and definitely you as principal. So I appreciate that.
One of the things about you, Mitch, is I doubt very much even if you even knew the location of my office because you were never sent there, and that's a good thing. I used to have, and this was at a different school when I was a middle school principal. A parent came to me one time and asked how would they know if I didn't tell them if their student had been in trouble. And I said, here's the one telltale way that you can always tell. Ask your student uh, what's in my office, where things are located, and if they can tell you where my stapler is located and what pictures I have on the wall, they're spending a little bit too much time in my office.
I was just going to ask because I don't think I ever spent time in your office. Like I couldn't tell you where your office was, but that was going to lead up to my follow-up question, which was, who is the worst Fisher kid?
Oh, you're tagging me with this one. I'm not saying the word. Be a little more descriptive. There wasn't a worse Fisher kid. Be a little
Okay,
more.
okay. Was there any Fisher kids who did spend time in your office?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Really? Okay.
I'm not
That
going to incriminate any of your.
all right.
I certainly tell you it wasn't Sydney.
I'd be shocked if I found out Sydney was in there, but yeah.
Yeah, that would be a shock to both of us. Uh, I think maybe was it Trevor?
Trevor was 2 years above Sydney.
Yeah,
Danny, so my favorite year at Northwest High School was my senior year because Danny was a junior and Trevor was a freshman. So all three of us were there at the same time.
right.
We were in show choir. Trevor and I did cross country, and all three of us did track. So like that was my favorite year by far. But that's how close we were. Is that we were all there at the same time for 1 year.
All right. So to get back to your original question, I think Trevor might have come in one time to give me a blessing or something like that. That sound like Trevor?
That sounds like Trevor. Yeah,
We'll leave it at that.
that's good.
I will tell you that Danny was the most. How do I want to say this? Robust. We'll call it robust.
Yeah, that
He-
that was the answer I was expecting.
yeah. Dan, and this is how I refer to a lot of young kids in church. Danny was full of the Holy Spirit.
It's so funny because we reflect on high school a lot because he's such a different he's so different than he was in high school now
Oh, sure.
in a good way, but we'll reflect on that time. He was a lot more risky and out there than I was, that's for sure. And
Sir,
yeah, yeah. So we all loved there. I mean, like I said, when I was a senior, that was by far my favorite. Like we had such a blast being in activities together, being able to do so much together. It was just so fun. So yeah, it was just a blessing to be able to go to Northwest.
well, thank you for saying that. I hope I had a little bit to do with that.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. What? Okay, to wrap that part off, like what was your favorite memory, if you could pick one or two from your time in Northwest?
Well, certainly the one about graduation with my daughter is probably that really stands out. I was also very proud of my son graduating from my school. Ben had the misfortune, and I'll say on his part, the misfortune of having me as for 1 year as a middle school principal in Wayne, and then also for 4 years as high school principal. So I know that might have been a little bit tough on him, and it's never easy being, especially I don't know as if Emily caught a lot of grief for it, but it's never easy being a boy and having your dad be the principal of the school. So I appreciate the fact that he found a way to get through and did pretty well in school and was involved very heavily in band, as you know, and so um, uh, I appreciate that fact. So I'm proud of being able to graduate both of my own children as well.
What has been so your time at Northwest as a principal, was that your first time that you had moved or spent time in Grand Island when you moved for that job?
As far as, well, actually, when I both taught and was principal in Greeley, we would come to Grand Island all the time. In fact, there were a lot of times uh, when when I was principal up in Greeley, we would come down on Saturday, and oftentimes, since we were already down here, we would just attend mass at St. Leo's. And
Yeah.
and that was kind of the interesting thing because through that time, I got to know Ann Purdy at St. Leo's. Uh, when we came back, which was 13 years later, and we joined the parish at St. Leo's, uh, it felt like home. It really did. Like we had been away for a while, but we kind of came back home to St. Louis. So uh, I thought that was kind of a nice memory.
Yeah. What's been like you moving to Grand Island and seeing it change over the past couple decades, and now being like in the position you're in where you're actively trying to line, young talent up with local internships, local jobs to, and obviously kind of create a pipeline of talent for Grand Island. What's changed the most about this town since you've been here, and where do you see things going, especially in regards to the work that you're doing?
Okay. I guess, first of all, back in early 1980s, when I was teaching in Greeley and would come to Grand Island, back then the population of Grand Island was probably about 35,000 people. So it was, a lot smaller than it is now. Right now, they say anywhere from 53 to 56,000 people in Grand Island. So that obviously is a change. The diversity in town uh, was not to the extent that it is now, but something that was growing along with that. I can remember coming to Grand Island, and we didn't go. We went to a few games at Northwest when I was up in Greeley. I think we played districts there one time, and seeing how that school grew and everything with Northwest, how Grand Island Senior High, their student population has just skyrocketed. From they weren't even close to the largest high school in the state, and now they're in the top 2 or 3 in size of schools. So that has really changed. As far as the employment goes, we've always had great employers here in Grand Island, and the most rewarding part and probably the most challenging part of this job when I took it in 2022 was getting to know that side of Grand Island. It was a challenge to me because, obviously I'd lived in Grand Island for 12 years as principal here, but there was so much of the industry and the employers in town that I didn't know. So getting to know the CEOs of these businesses, the human resources people in these businesses, and some of the employees was very rewarding for me. But it was a challenge because it kind of took me out of a comfortable place into a place where I enjoyed doing it, but I wasn't necessarily cut out for that because I didn't come from the business world. I came from the education world. So kind of marrying the two aspects together, the Wayne State College and the employment side was very rewarding. And so, but that's taking off very well.
Good. So I guess what would you say you're like, if you had to put a mission statement behind your job position right now? Obviously, there's a lot. It's helping the students, it's helping the employers of Grand Island. Like there's a couple different factors, but like what would you say the main mission is?
I'd say the main mission in my particular position is to create the best match for the Wayne State students coming to Grand Island for internship opportunities. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now as far as this first small pilot class is getting these matches together, trying to find out, because it was such a small class, I was able to have Zoom meetings with every one of the 6 students about what their interests were. Were they looking to do an internship in a small business, in a large business? What type of industry possibly are they looking at? So those those personal conversations were very important. And I got a lot of information about that. And that helps me to create a better match with the employer and the student going forward.
Yeah. What are you able to share like any of the employers you're working with, any of like the types of positions, internships that you're creating or looking to create?
Well, I can say some of the largest ones. We've had contact with Chief Industries for several uh, Wayne State interns, uh, Bosselman Enterprises, Hornaday, uh, all the banks, Five Points Bank, Home Federal, and Equitable are probably our three closest partners. So we're working with the banks. We're working with other businesses as well. So, for example, we have a couple, well, one of the examples is we have an IT student looking to be placed. And one of my contacts is a parishioner at St. Leo's with me. And so I found out that he's the director of the IT department. And so I found out that they may be looking for somebody in IT. So just some of those contacts, putting those contacts together to make the matches. And then addition, those are large businesses. There's also a number of smaller businesses and employers who would be looking to take on an intern as well. And so we can't neglect those as well. For example, just one I made last summer was made with Sun Heat Industries. And so, they do a lot of infrared heating and things like that. And I wasn't even sure that they would be looking for an intern, but they would be interested in interns. So those are some of the businesses that we've set up partnerships with. Now, on the disappointing side, with such a small class, it's obviously not every one of those businesses is going to be able to claim an intern. So I hope they stay patient, and I hope that moving forward that eventually they will get somebody placed in an internship with them.
How does it work then for the students? So that are you just giving them like, here are your options? You get to pick or apply for different things. Are you making them match themselves for them, or how's that work?
Here's what I did ahead of time back last semester to our employers around town that I have contact with. I sent out to them a needs assessment. So do you need marketing? Do you need HR? Do you need information technology? Do you need on the education side, because elementary ed is part of this? Do you need elementary teachers? Do you need communications people? So from that information I got from the surveys, I was able to put together a spreadsheet with the help of Wayne State, and that was made available to the students at the end of last semester. So coming to this semester, they already have an idea of, well, these three businesses are looking for marketing. These two businesses are looking for business management. These two businesses are looking for IT, and so on and so forth. So doing some of the legwork ahead of time has helped me and helped the students as well to arrange this. And so when I had my face-to-face with them, we could put a name of a business with maybe who they'd be interested in. And a lot of them, there's out of the six, three of them were very interested in some of our biggest employers. Two others thought that, they could work in a big business, but they would prefer something a little smaller. For example, we have an accounting firm that's employer partner of ours, but it's a little bit smaller accounting firm. So those were sort of the conversations that we had to try to make the best matches with the students.
Definitely. I'm curious what your view is on the potential of Grand Island as kind of a hub for young professionals, because, my wife and I, as you know, we grew up here. We moved back a couple of years ago to be closer to family. And it's been so honestly awesome to be back in Grand Island, back in the area. Do you see Grand Island as a place, like from your perspective, visiting with these businesses, like knowing their needs and kind of the talent pool that's out there? Do you see Grand Island as a good hub for young professionals? And if not now, do you see it becoming that more so?
Certainly. I guess part of it is the businesses, when this program first got started in Grand Island, even before I came on, they were literally starving for young talent. And for the most part, they still are. So they're very, very welcoming as far as any opportunity, even the part about having the classes grow a little bit larger, because uh, they could take students, good students, right away, and their patience has been fantastic, and their patience with me in learning this job has been uh, super, as far as being patient with me and in making these placements. So yes, I think there's obviously the job market is open. I think because of the size of our community, because of the growth of our community, and because of the diversity of our uh, employers can find just about anything available. Now, whether it's through a program through Wayne State, I know there's a lot of interns that come from UNK as well, a lot that come from Hastings College as well. So putting them all together, hopefully we can serve the business needs of this community to make good matches for interns.
What do you think is the what do you think the biggest challenges for Grand Island is as a town? From your perspective, it's probably going to be informed by the work you do. And do you think there are solid solutions in place as far as like, entrepreneurs, business people being able to tackle those solutions? Like, what do you think the biggest challenges are as a town?
Okay. And Grand Island is not exclusive to this problem, but housing for young families is crucial. And unfortunately, in Grand Island, uh, even though we're building more and more, affordable housing can sometimes be difficult to find, especially for young families. But I think the city and our contractors and the builders around are doing their best to try to keep up with the demands, because our population is growing very rapidly. Uh, but finding affordable housing is going to be a big challenge, and will be for a lot of communities in the state. Along those lines, as far as employment opportunities, um, I think there's many employment opportunities as far as uh, professional work, as far as entry level work. Uh, it's very numerous. As you grew up in this community, uh, there we have everything from white collar occupations to blue collar occupations and everything in between. Um, One of the things that I'm encouraged by, and this podcast is one of them, because you can't paint people in a corner, is the spirit of entrepreneurship from young people in this community is fantastic. And as long as there's ideas and as long as there's opportunities, I think that will continue to grow.
See, I completely agree. I think there's so much potential, and to your point, some of the biggest challenges facing Grand Island, from my perspective as like a younger person in this town, are being faced and like are being addressed, which is really, really good to see. So from all the changes happening, you've got the Good Life District, you've got a lot of housing coming in, you got more businesses wanting to move here. What are some of those things happening that you think are actually going to address problems most head on, be the most successful as far as bringing more young professionals here?
Well, I think number one, as I talked about before, even though it's a challenge, I think, and I agree with you, I think it's being met as well as it can be, and that's affordable housing for young people and young families, especially. I think along the other things, one of the things that I hear from young people at Wayne State uh, are, obviously, young people have different interests. And so the building of the Conestoga Marketplace is going to be very important. I think the Good Life District and everything that can be built out there, as far as everything from the sports courts to the pickleball to a possible new water park out there, in addition to housing and some of the businesses. I know, are you broadcasting from the clubhouse?
I'm broadcasting from my basement, actually. So
Oh,
we were going to, yeah. Our first episode we recorded at the Prairie District Clubhouse. I changed plans for a few of these first episodes, but we may be doing some more recording there down the road. But I've been there. It's a really neat area. If that's what you were leading into.
and that's exactly what I was leading into, was some of those developments around there. And, just I am amazed just in, say, 2 to 3 years, how many of those housing developments have gone up out there close to the regional hospital and that entire area, and all the businesses that are going up adjacent to the regional hospital around that area, just around the curve. It's just amazing, and I know there's a lot of investment from developers in Grand Island, and so they wouldn't build it if they didn't think that people would come to it, and that's encouraging. That's very, very encouraging as far as the housing goes and as far as the business is going up. I would have to say that I'm going to hazard a guess here with the new Starbucks coming in and then the baristas. We probably have more actual coffee houses per capita than most places in the state of Nebraska.
That'd be a crazy stat. I'd actually be curious to know what that it looks like comparatively, because we had a lot of new coffee places.
Right, and Daily Dose, and there's some smaller ones as well.
Yeah, that's super cool. This is a random question. I've heard rumblings about this, so I don't know if you have more knowledge or are able to confirm or deny if there's going to be a Costco coming to Grand Island soon.
I had heard rumors of that, even though I used to have more of that inside information because I work in office here in the Chamber of Commerce. I'm not privy to that kind of information, but I have heard rumors that that's certainly a possibility. Obviously we have a Chick-fil-A coming and a couple other places. One of the things that I'm amazed at, and I know that we're the home of the state fair and I have a lot of events. I am completely amazed, especially with the new development of hotels and hotel rooms in the city, is amazing. To think that we can actually fill that many hotel rooms around town is amazing. And then when you throw in the casino out at Fauner Park, which will in addition have, I believe, 160 hotel rooms out there. So another one probably going up at the Conestoga Marketplace as well. And I was told by a hotel developer that hotels don't develop anything less than 4 stories high anymore.
Oh, wow.
I mean, so you're talking about 150, each one of these probably having close to 150 rooms.
Yeah.
The fact that, as Grand Island continues to grow further south towards the interstate, all the businesses that are going in out there, and that's interesting as well. One of the things, and not being from Grand Island, obviously living in Grand Island, but not being from Grand Island, that I always observed was that a lot of people said that the city of Kearney had a built-in advantage because they were literally right on the interstate, where you had to drive 7 miles into Grand Island. Well, now as Grand Island moves further south, that I-80 to city of Grand Island corridor is getting a lot smaller, as more businesses and more housing goes up out in what used to be cornfields from the interstate north to the city.
I've had that exact same thought so when I was in high school, I graduated in 2017. So when I would drive from my parents' house I actually went to Career Pathways Institute in the GIPS area for my morning classes, and then I'd come to Northwest my senior year. So when I drive on Husker Highway, my parents live out kind of by Cedar Hollow. We drive down Husker Highway, there was nothing there. Like the hospital wasn't there, Prairie District wasn't there. And I've always had that thought too, is naturally the further Grand Island grows to the interstate, the more people we could bring in. If there's stuff right there for people to hop off the interstate and have access to, that's good for Grand Island, right? But there's nothing there. The amount of changes in just that area is nuts to me. I mean, there's just been so much, and clearly that's kind of the pull is getting closer to the interstate so you can bring people in to stay, to eat, to shop, all that good stuff. I mean, the state fair, I'm sure, has had a huge, like you said, with the hotels, a huge part of it as well. But
oh yeah, it's amazing, and not just like you said since 2017, but just think of since you moved back here.
yeah,
the growth that's occurred along Husker Highway there. It's amazing. It's simply amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, since we moved back, so, we moved back because we wanted to be closer to parents and closer to family and stuff with having a kid. So our daughter's she'll be 2 this summer now. It's been such a great decision to be, close to family, back in this community, like back in the Tri-City area, like in Grand Island. But we also kind of did. So we were in Omaha at the time. She goes to school, my wife, for occupational therapy. And so she was in Omaha, where we were living in Omaha. She was in that program. And they have a program at Kearney too, a cohort, so she could easily transfer. So we were kind of sitting and deciding, like, okay, we're gonna have a kid. Do we want to stay in Omaha or do we want to move closer to home? Like, we kind of made like a pros and cons list of staying in Omaha and moving to Grand Island. And there's just way too many pros to moving home. But one of the things was we kind of did see, like, it seemed like there was a lot of growth happening in this area, in this town, and like we noticed some of those trends. Like, okay, yes, like, it's kind of fun to get back to your roots, but it's also fun to go back to a place where is actually going to change a lot in good ways too, and kind of grow with the town. And so ultimately, obviously, we decided to be here. And since then, Good Life District got announced recently. I mean, we'll see how that ends up, obviously, too, to see if that stays. But the Conestoga Marketplace, Prairie District, like all that stuff has happened since just moving here, and we haven't been here for 2 years.
That's amazing. It's simply amazing, and no end in sight. I mean, growth will continue.
Yeah. What is let me ask, like, what would be your message to the people of Grand Island, or maybe the people of Tri-Cities, maybe specifically just like young professionals? Like, we kind of the trend of what we've been talking about. You work with students and you kind of build that pipeline. What would be your message to people who are from here or looking to live in the area?
I guess part of it is, and we're talking about young people and young families for the most part, is with all, not just the development, but what we already had in place before. And I know one of the things that, and I've heard this from a number of people who like to throw some shade on Grand Island, is the fact, well, you don't have a 4-year college. You don't have a 4-year college. That may be true, but we have one of the best community colleges in the state of Nebraska that serves a lot of interests. And plus, if you really want to go to 4-year college, you can drive all the way to Kearney, so 42 miles to Kearney or 25 miles to Hastings if that's really what you're interested. But you can still live in Grand Island if that's the case. But there are so many programs, and as a principal and now in a program, I would never encourage anybody that you have to go to a 4-year college anyway. There are so many occupations that need to be filled, whether it's an electrician or a carpenter or a plumber, that some of them require some education as well. A lot of them just require a 2-year degree or even a trade certificate. That's where I think Grand Island can really grow, is we have those opportunities available right here as far as our community college and things like that. One of the things that we're really proud of at Wayne State, because it's a great program, probably the best in the state as far as the 4-year program goes, is criminal justice. A lot of people don't realize that probably the best 2-year associate degree criminal justice program is right here in Grand Island at Central Community College. If you ever have a chance, or if you haven't toured their crime house, ask to go tour their crime house. It's similar to what we have up at Wayne State, and it's basically how you learn to be an investigator. And so they have probably the best 2-year criminal justice program around. And one of the things that I know that Grand Island Police Department is always looking for, and Hall County Sheriff and surrounding sheriff's departments are looking for, are people to serve in law enforcement. And so a 2-year degree would do that. A lot of the health-related fields, a lot of the nursing fields and things like that are developed through CCC as well. So we have some great programs at Central Community College right here in Grand.
100%. Yeah, I would agree. Have a lot of good friends who went through there too and loved it. I mean, had great experiences there. Were able to stay here in Grand Island or surrounding areas and do that. Anything else coming up next for you, Mr. Krupicka? Any new projects in the works other than what you've already mentioned and been working on?
Well, at some point, Mitch, I will retire. I hope it's not too soon.
Yeah.
My daughter's now going. She's a junior at UNL and going to be a senior next year. So she's doing very well, actually. And at the end of this week, we're sending my daughter Emily off to Japan for the remainder of the semester. She's going to be teaching English to Japanese students at a
Wow.
school through a program that UNL's had for probably 35 years. And
Wow.
so very proud of that opportunity. Just looking for things like that. At some point, yes, I will retire, but I feel like I have so much to give yet, especially in the area of education. It's been my passion for 43 years. I want to help young people is what it comes down to. And in whatever way I can, it might mean being a substitute teacher. It might be being a custodian or a cook at Northwest or something along those lines. I thrive on being around young people because I think it helps to keep me feeling younger and more vital. I love helping people. I love being around people. So otherwise, I wouldn't have supervised all those basketball games and things like that at Northwest.
Yeah, 100%. Well,
And told your brother Danny to sit down.
how many times do you have to do that? Probably quite a bit.
That was one of them. So when you got to the question about did he spend time in my office? No, not time in my office, but we had probably a few confrontations in the basketball court as well.
The student section was also one of my favorite things about Northwest. Being a part of that at football and basketball, like it was so much fun.
We had a good time. Hopefully we didn't put too many restrictions on young people that you still had fun doing it.
No, we had a blast. It was a perfect amount of like letting us have fun, but also like making sure we were like keep ourselves in check. So it was great.
Well, good. I'm glad you feel that way.
Well, Mr. Krupicka, thank you so much for taking the time to chat. Like I said, it was an honor being a student at Northwest High School, your principal there. It's been an honor to know you and catch up with you. I just prayers and blessings on your work and what you continue to do.
Well, thanks so much for this opportunity, Mitch, and God bless you and everything that you're doing with this podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to get this one up. Thank you all for listening. Mr. Krupicka, have a good day.
You as well.
Bye.
Bye.